Hi everyone, welcome to MeAndMyGolf. We're your coaches Andy and Pierce, and we are extremely excited today to bring you a special video. Now, one of the most common questions you guys ask is, what golf fitness exercises should I be doing to help my game? And we have finally put a plan together just for you.
Yes, we're super excited because we know this is going to be a game changer for you both on and off the golf course.
Yes, and if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, comment and like to get more videos like this every single week.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this is stage one, breaking the ice, here on YouTube. If you want to watch the rest of the plan, you need to go to MeAndMyGolf.com. Let's take charge of your game. Welcome to Flexible in 15, a 6-week flexibility plan. Now, we are 100% sure that if you do this plan, you're going to get the most out of your golf. And the good news is you can get it done in just 15 minutes of your day.
Yes, it is. And if you're somebody who's struggling with injuries or just wants to move better on and off the golf course, but also increase your accuracy and club head speed, then we know this plan can help.
Yeah, we're really lucky as well because we have with us golf strength and conditioning specialist Andy Caldwell. How are you?
Hi Piers.
Good to see you, Andy.
Good to see you, Andy.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Now, before we get started, let's just share with the guys at home what they can expect from this plan.
Well, the program is designed around 3 stages, each stage lasting 2 weeks. It's designed to be performed with minimal equipment, so we just need a lacrosse ball or spiky ball, a power band and a foam roller. And each stage has within it 5 key exercises called flexibility primers, and then 5 key exercises that follow that for flexibility.
Perfect, and you get the equipment, just click the link below. Now, if somebody's injured or in pain, Andy, can they still do this plan?
Ideally, if people have injury or pain, then they should consult a health or fitness professional before they commence this program. For everybody else, it should be okay to continue, but obviously at your own discretion, guys.
So research has shown that if you do a flexibility program, you can 100% improve your performance. So the best thing to do here is if you have a golf coach or you know a golf coach that can test you for club head speed and consistency, or even a club fitter, go and get some baseline numbers so we know where you are at this stage before you start the plan, and then let's retest at the end of the plan. And we're pretty sure we're going to see some good results.
Definitely, you combine this with some improvements in technique with that coach, you will definitely see some results. Now, and you can do all this in just 15 minutes. So, let's get started.
Now, Andy C, before we get into the testing, why do we test? We've got 5 tests, why do we need to do them?
Well, first of all, it sets a baseline for testing, so it lets us know where that particular player is at any point in time. So that forms the initial assessment, and then obviously we can reassess at any point in time. That gives us progression. And we've picked these 5 tests because they commonly link to swing faults that we commonly see with most golfers. So when we look at Andy's ability to move through the ankle, through the thoracic spine and through the hips, they commonly link to common faults that you guys observe on the range.
Yeah. These 5 tests really going to cover generally the whole body.
Absolutely, yeah. It gives us a good picture of how that person is moving, and then we can reassess at the end of the program.
And see the progression, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we want to see that progression as well. So make sure you do some videos, some pictures at the start of this testing, and then in 6 weeks' time, hopefully, you'll see some improvements, and send us those as well, because we want to see those improvements. Right, what's the first one?
The first one is knee to wall dorsiflexion. So if Andy comes over towards the wall, this is a measure of ankle flexibility. Ideally, we're looking for 10 centimeters or 40 degrees, and we'll show you guys how to use an app on the iPhone. Andy's going to place his foot flat to the floor. We're going to be optimistic and say he's got 10 centimeters already. We use a tape measure for this. Knee towards the wall, keeping the foot flat and the heel down. If we can't quite touch the wall, bring the knee away, move the foot just a little bit towards the wall, and then knee in towards the wall again. And it's the distance between the big toe and the wall without the heel lifting, where the knee point just touches into the wall. If we're using the iPhone app, we can be in exactly the same position. This app called Dorsiflex. We place this on the shin, and then we move forward towards the wall again, and instead of centimetres away from the wall, this measures degrees through the ankle, and we're looking for 40 degrees with that particular test. So we can either use the tape measure or the iPhone app for this test.
Okay, and obviously both sides, you want to see if there's any indifference between the two?
Absolutely, we're looking for asymmetry left to right.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And I think the thing for us is obviously as a swing fault, Andy, we know that this very much goes towards that early extension. So whether it's in the backswing or especially in the downswing where those hips are thrusting in towards the golf ball, if you're failing this test, there's a good chance you could do this, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, and if we look at fitness aspects as well, it links to things like squat and split squat depth, and we can also see some injury risk towards things like knee pain and Achilles tendon pain as well. So it's a really important test, links to lots of things in the golf swing and lots of things from an injury risk perspective for me as well.
So how was he with that? Was he okay?
Yeah, very good, he was on 10 centimetres.
Very
We
good.
didn't measure the degrees, so we don't know on that one.
A good start for me then.
Excellent, good start. Okay, so second test is the standing hip rotation test, and this is a TPI screening test. So Andy's got two clubs down here, 6 iron to give us 60 degrees. If he stands with his left foot in line with the club head, hands on the hips, and then from there he's going to turn through this left hip, and we're going to measure and reference his pelvis relative to this 6 iron angle. And what we're aiming for is that 60 degree angle that the 6 iron creates, and then document your individual test score. And again, what we're looking for here is left-right comparisons. So if Andy flips the club round to the opposite side, we can then compare to his right hip, which is a right-handed play. This is going to give us analysis of backswing hip rotation. And again, he works round into hip rotation, and we measure the degree of his pelvis relative to the angle of the 6 iron.
Yeah.
Ideally, we're looking for 60 degrees.
I would say that looks easier for him going that side. Would you agree, Andy?
Definitely.
It feels it, yeah.
It looks easy. It looks like you've
Feels
got more
it.
range that way. And I think
Definitely.
there's something definitely that you will see a lot, Andy, is that right foot rolling. Obviously, if they're struggling with that mobility.
Exactly. We want to try and keep this right foot planted where possible, and also slightly flex through the knee as well. Okay.
Okay. And this is huge for the golf swing, Andy. We know this as well, because if you think about the backswing, we're talking about a sway, a lack of rotation, a reverse spine. So that's the backswing. The downswing, we get a slide, we get that early extension. You know, so if you can have good internal hip mobility, it's going to be a lot better for you when you're hitting golf shots.
And with this, if we see somebody, Andy, who's, let's say, go here, and they only go, let's say, half of this 30 degrees, there's a good chance that we may see some of those things showing up, maybe a sway in that backswing, something that's limiting that rotation.
Absolutely, and from an injury risk perspective, what we know from the research is that when you have this reduction in internal hip rotation, it's linked with an increased prevalence of low back pain, for example, which is a very common injury pattern for both amateur and professional golfers.
Yeah, which is pretty much the reason why I know Andy Caldwell, by the way. Look, I mean, I think they're massively important, and I think, you know, it just shows you how important those hips are in your golf swing. So Andy, see, we're moving through them. What do we have next for?
We've got the CT trunk rotation test here. So with Andy, what we're going to look at is his ability to move his thoracic spine on his pelvis.
Okay.
And this commonly links to things we might see around the lower back again, because when we lose rotation through the mid-spine, it can apply that force to the lower back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, from a golf point of view, Andy, we know that we're seeing lack of rotation in a golf swing.
Yeah.
We might see that disconnected move away where the arms come away from the body, just because you can't move this part of the body very well.
Yeah, and it's key if we want to create that sort of consistency, but also power in the golf swing as well. If we can get this good pivot and turn, it's really key, isn't it?
Absolutely. It allows you to rotate through a greater capacity and gives you more opportunity to create power.
Okay.
Okay, so if you kneel down there for us, Andy. What we're going to use here is a golf club, and we have to do a bit of approximation here really. So Andy's going to first of all put the golf club behind his back, reach over and under, place the hands onto the stomach, and we're going to try to keep the club flat against the back here. We don't want any lifting, because that can indicate cheating through the scapula.
No cheating now. Come on.
I wouldn't cheat, Pierce.
We're going to take a second golf club here, and we're going to run that along the line of the outside of Andy's leg. We're going to approximate 45 degrees from there, and what we're aiming to try to do here is line that club up with the club across Andy's back. Now we're measuring left-sided rotation here, so Andy's going to gently rotate through there. I'm going to touch the club here, and he's just beginning to lift at that point, and we can see that he's shorter, he's 45 degrees there. We've got around about 30 degrees of trunk on pelvis rotation.
And I think the key is when people are doing this, do not cheat. You know, give yourself the best possible test here. Don't let that club come loose. Don't start moving the shoulders around.
Could easily go there, look and get more, but
he's cheating now and he's passed his test, but we know that if we look closely.
Absolutely, don't lose pressure off the club from the back, definitely, and only go as far as you can rotate without losing the club pressure.
Yeah. Now, would it be fair to say as well, actually, with the way that Andy is sitting on the floor here is actually maybe quite hard for some people. Absolutely. So we've got some other options for him?
Yeah, commonly I see people having difficulties getting into this test. So a secondary option would be to pop a foam roller. If Andy lifts up there, pop this across the ankles, and that just elevates the hips off the feet and allows you to rotate with a great degree of comfort.
Yeah.
And then the other option we've got is to look at a chair as well.
Okay. Let's go both sides. Let's just see the other side as well, because obviously I'm keen to see that, because obviously we class that as a fail for Andy.
Okay, so again, if we line the club up to the outside of the leg, we approximate 45 degrees from that 90 degrees. And then again, Andy's going to rotate to the right this time, and we're going to again measure, and he started to lift there. Come back a little bit, Andy. There, okay. And we've got around about 20 degrees actually in that direction. So slightly reduced reduction in rotation right to left, so we've got asymmetry as well.
You've got something to do there.
I've got something to improve on.
That's good.
That's good. So Andy, is this where I get a massage now? Yeah?
Not just yet. You're doing well, but not just yet. No. This is the prone liftoff test, and this is a test that looks at shoulder flexibility, but also thoracic or trunk flexibility as well.
Okay.
So if you want to lie prone with your head on the towel, you need a towel for this just to create a breathing area underneath.
I'll come around there and get out of the way.
Okay. And he's going to extend his arms in what we call a Superman position, so arms out up top, thumbs together and linked. Keep the elbows nice and straight, and keep the chin tucked in. So from there, Andy's then going to keep all of this connected. He's going to lift his arms from the floor, keeping his chin tucked in, and we're measuring the degree of mobility relative to a shoebox, which we found to be about 15 centimeters. So anything above that is a good positive test. Anything below that, we're lacking flexibility. So do that again for me, Andy. Lift. And as you can see here, Andy's...
He can't actually see what's going on here, so he's failed. He's failed.
As you can see from here, we've got movement above the level of the shoulder.
Do that again, Andy. That's actually really good, isn't it?
Yeah, Andy's got a really good level of flexibility here. But as we saw previously with his thoracic spine, he wasn't moving so well. So it allows us maybe to differentiate between where Andy's moving not so well and a region where he's moving quite a lot.
Okay, so the areas around that almost is making up for that little bit there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so look, when we talk about the golf swing as well, you can get up now, Andy. We're talking about a sort of poor posture, so C posture at address, but also dynamic posture as well. So people who will lift up potentially, and then from there, obviously, be too hunched over when they're striking the golf ball. So again, pretty important, we'd say.
Absolutely.
Right then, Andy C. Only one left. Yep. And he's still in one piece. What's going on?
Just warming up here.
Just getting started.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the 90-90 wall test. So this tells us lots of things really. In terms of injury risk, what we commonly see, particularly in amateurs, would be a high prevalence of elbow pain, particularly outside elbow pain.
Okay.
We also see a fair amount of shoulder problems, but in professional players we see quite a degree of wrist issues as well.
Okay.
So if we're limited in the shoulder, it can transfer force to each of those areas in the golf swing and result in tissue overload. Okay. So the test is to stand against any wall that's flat, in golf posture really. So we're looking for slight flexion through the knees, lower back flat against the wall, head flat against the wall and chin tucked in. If Andy places his left arm up to 90 degrees there with a soft fist, and the key thing is to keep this wrist flat, try not to extend it as a cheat, okay? And then from there, Andy's going to rotate back through his shoulder, level with the wall. And that's why we call this a 90-90 wall test.
There we go.
Most people I see will struggle to get anywhere near that in terms of flexibility. If you've got more than that, then obviously that can help you to set the club better.
Yeah, and that's the lead arm, that's the left arm. So if we think about where this could be a problem in the golf swing, we see this chicken wing move through the golf ball. This is huge. If you can't pass this 90-90, then you could get a problem like that. And I think the one for us, Andy, we talk about this all the time. If you're struggling with this right side, imagine if you can't get your right arm in a position or your trail arm in a position with anything more than this. So as we can see from here, what's going to happen? over the top, steep, just because there's no mobility to allow that arm to fold like that. So
Absolutely.
Crucial we can pass that. We're now at my favourite part of this video, which is flexibility primers. So we're talking about getting ready to doing the flexibility stretching. So what do we mean by flexibility primers?
Basically, these are a group of exercises that are going to help you to prepare to move better. So in some cases, we're going to use a spiky ball or a lacrosse ball. In other cases, we're going to use a foam roller. So we're basically moving on the tissues to reduce pain and improve movement quality. The first one we're going to have a look at with Andy is across the chest area to allow better shoulder mobility.
Okay, let's see it then. And you'll see right now why this is my favourite.
A lacrosse or spiky ball is required for this. So if Andy comes across the wall, we're going to use the lacrosse or spiky ball against the wall. We're going to aim for the pectoral region, which is this chest area across here. Andy's going to have his arm at 90-90 like we saw in the 90-90 wall test. Initially, he's going to keep his head relatively flat, and he's going to move side to side or up and down, where he's going to squat through the pelvis and work across the chest area to improve shoulder mobility.
How's that feel, Andy?
It feels good. Not too painful, actually. Oh, that was a bit painful, but yeah, that's not too bad. There's definitely some sore points.
And if we find a sore point, we can home in on it, spend some extra time, and in total time here, we're looking for around about 1 to 2 minutes of work.
I like it. And again, think of this. If you're locked here at the top with this flying elbow, it's going to cause this steep over the top downswing. Very important to get rid of that. I think you should have worked a little harder though.
I'll do the left one now. Andy, this looks painful again. What is it?
Yeah, this is a foam roller, and what we're going to use this for is to improve your hip mobility. Okay. So if you want to get yourself down, if you sit your right gluteal muscle, or your buttock muscle onto that foam roller, at this stage your leg's going to be flat.
Yep.
Opposite leg in flexion, just to give you some stability, and arms behind you. You can either be on your fists or your hands, depends what's comfortable on your wrist. Okay, what we're going to do here is roll up and down on the roller, and again finding those spots that are particularly uncomfortable. When you find one, zone in, your face will probably change when that occurs.
There's definitely a sweet spot right there.
Small movements when we get onto those points. Okay, so really focusing, and again it's a 1 to 2 minute technique.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely some sore spots there.
Good, excellent. So spend some extra time on those points.
Superb. So obviously, again, looking at the golf swing, we're obviously in the right hip, we need to do both sides, but we're talking about this sway in the backswing. So anybody who's moving over here laterally, this is huge for us. We talk about this all the time, how important it is to be good there.
Absolutely.
And we see a little bit of pain in this face.
And from my perspective, this obviously links to our previous risk of low back pain as well.
Of course. Trying to see exercise 3 in the flexibility primers. What have we got? He's going through a little bit of pain, but controlled pain.
Here we're looking at another foam roller technique, and we're looking down the IT band, which is part of the lateral line, particularly important for golf, because obviously in the golf swing we see lateral movement, and we've got to extend through that pattern.
Huge.
Okay, so links with hip mobility and also quality of rotation as well, because these tissues connect into the glutes.
We think about the best players in the world, how they move, how well they move through the golf ball. Here you can see all of this area here is being stretched.
Extension through that lateral line, well demonstrating good players. Okay, so if you place this in a nice stable position, and we're working from the tissues just under the bony point of the hip to just on the upper side of the knee. So don't go into this area or this area with this technique. Upper leg into flexion, lower leg into full extension. For this particular technique, we're going to work Andy on his elbow in a nice stable position with the right hand down, and he's going to work up and down on the foam roller, again finding spots that are particularly uncomfortable, and he'll zone in on those particular spots.
Again, important that his elbow's under his shoulder, I assume?
Yeah, for stability and control of the pattern as well. And what he can do is, as he's moving up on the foam roller, he can just shift his elbow position up.
Okay. How's that?
Yes. This is definitely an uncomfortable one, but
We have another winner.
yeah,
We can apply a bit more pressure as required there as well.
Take it easy on this one, guys.
Right then, Andy, see, we've still got the foam roller. What's he going through now?
We're going to work on the calf and ankle complex here. So Andy's going to put his calf tissues onto the foam roller, and then we're going to again progress through tissue progressions in terms of the flexibility as well. So from here, Andy's going to pop his calf onto the foam roller, and at this stage he's going to lift his buttocks gently off the floor, and he can stabilise with his opposite leg, and he's going to move up and down on the foam roller at different levels from just above the ankle to just below the knee. And it's quite important Andy explores different areas through the calf through just gently rotating his leg in or out. Obviously find spots that are much more uncomfortable. Again, zone in on those spots.
And you'll definitely find that sort of that sore spot where you go, right, okay, there it is, and then you sort of go all in on that spot.
Important to emphasise with that as well, small movements, don't make big movements on and off that tissue, and really focus in.
So this, Andy say, this is important, isn't it? And also it's interesting that he passes the test on these okay, but yet when it comes to doing this, actually there's a little bit of discomfort. So why is that?
There are local areas of tissue quality that might have focal trigger points, for example, or just sensitive parts in the tissue. And certainly, although Andy's got good mobility, there'd be areas where maybe his brain's getting messages when he loads that tissue that we could do without. So definitely areas to work on for Andy, and it should improve that quality of movement and how the athlete or golfer feels when they move as well.
And potentially, obviously, unchecked, this could create a lack of mobility in that calf.
Absolutely, definitely contribute towards reduction in dorsiflexion.
Okay, and again, obviously for us, early extension, huge, obviously, huge. So here's our fifth and final exercise. Mr. Caldwell, over to you.
This is a spiky ball or lacrosse ball, and we're going to work under the sole of the foot, which is termed the plantar fascia, and this links to ankle and calf flexibility.
So we go to that early extension swing fault again when we're talking the golf swing.
Absolutely, or compromise of things like squat, split squat, or jump landing techniques as well. Really, really important areas to work on. Okay? So if we take Andy over to the wall, initially we're going to work the calf and ankle complex off stretch, ball on the floor, hands on the wall for stability. Downward pressure through the foot and maintain that. Big toe into extension, and then we're just going to move forward and back nice and slow to keep that compression rate on the tissues. We can move forward and back, and we can also move side to side, and we can also keep downward pressure and twist left and right. So we've got multi-directional pressure going through the tissues for each of the techniques.
Simple. His face didn't seem too bad on that one either.
It's not too bad.
Again, 1 to 2 minutes in total, and really zone in on areas where we have sensitivity through the tissue.
So we're getting into the flexibility exercises now. Andy, I'm primed and ready to go.
You are.
What are we doing now?
This is a thoracic extension over a towel. So we need 2 towels for this, one for the mid-spine and one to place your head on just to support the head and neck.
Okay.
So if you pop yourself down onto the floor.
I get a rest now, I get to lie down.
Ideally an exercise mat would be good for this, just for comfort. We're aiming this tightly rolled up towel for the mid-spine area, and then pop the head back onto the second towel. And the key thing really is we'll start from the head down, tuck the chin in, knees bent up, back flat against the floor, and we're trying to maintain that spine angle flat to the floor to try to maximise the amount of extension we're getting through the mid-spine. Fingers interlinked, turn the hands inside out, and then keep the elbows straight as we extend over the top of the head. Okay, breathe in on the way back, breathe out on the way through, extend. And it's a nice technique as you're coming through that third time, Andy, to try and reach your fingers towards that back wall area to extend and elongate through the trunk. And
Be quite easy on this one, Andy, to cheat and let my lumbar spine sort of come up and do that. I'm really important that I engage that and sort of keep the back flat.
we've got to pin that down to the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, so only come as far with the arms as you can keep the lower back flat into the ground.
So show that again, so show someone who's a bit limited there, Andy, so let's go.
So in this position here, we tend to see lumbar extension,
Yes.
and particularly if we're starting to reduce flexibility through the lat muscles or through the shoulder or through the thoracic spine.
Okay, so again, if his lower back does stay on the floor, he may only get to here. that's okay?
Absolutely
If
fine.
that's as far as the
Key thing, this
golfer can
drives
go.
how far we go with the arms.
Okay, and it was very interesting at the beginning how particular you were with how you were sort of getting into position with that lower back, with that chin tucked.
Yep.
Words the wrong way around there. But it's really important you have to be in a good place to start with, don't you?
Absolutely. The quality of the movement is the most important thing really. So don't try and cheat the range.
Yeah.
If the back is extending or we're seeing any of the other cheat movements.
We can see a head like this and the backside up in the air and the arms going back. Look at that, I'm doing it fine.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got to do proper movements.
Keep the high quality of the movement throughout.
Okay, Andy C. Second exercise.
This is called the angel wings exercise. Here we're just going to use gravity to assist us in the position, so no towel with this one, okay? We've got a towel under the head for support. So if Andy lays onto his back, head onto the towel.
This is very similar, obviously, position to before.
Similar setup to before, so we take the knees up to 90 degrees. We keep the lower back flat into the ground. We've got a similar interlinked position through the fingers. We're going to turn inside out, extend above over the head, so we've got that thoracic extension. Disconnect the fingers, drop the elbows down towards the hips, and then reconnect. And again, we've got the breathing pattern in there as well. So as Andy comes through here, he's going to breathe out, and then going to breathe in on the way down. Okay, breathe out, and then in on the way down. And again, the key thing here really is to maintain that lower back position, particularly as he disconnects his arms. In those with reduced flexibility, we often see that the back wants to pop up.
Okay, and would you even see elbows start to appear? Do that again, Andy, do it slowly. Would you start arms up? Would you get arms up here at all?
Absolutely, yeah. If somebody's got reduced flexibility through their shoulder, they're not going to be able to keep that arm down against the floor as they drop the elbow to the hip. Yeah. And again, you guys see that all the time in the golf swing, relating to that kind of over the top base movement.
And I think this is really good as well to actually just video these. You know, as we've said, we want you to do before and after, but why don't you video yourself doing these exercises as well to see how you progress going through that? And you can then see that, you know, I'm sure you've seen people left arm's fine, no problem on the ground, right arm is up in the air.
A degree of asymmetry, and again, that can link to the things that you guys see in the golf swing.
Absolutely.
You can see why it's important that we prime this area with the spiky ball as well, because this is obviously going into that sort of area.
Absolutely. Does the tissue quality work before we start to do the mobility exercise second to that?
He'd been up here before, wouldn't he?
Okay, moving on to exercise 3, Andy, what have we got?
We've got a side-lying thoracic rotation exercise. We're going to use a foam roller here because with you, it puts your head and neck in a better position. Yep. If you want to use a series of towels stacked up equally, we can use that as well.
And this was an area that I was a little bit limited on, wasn't it, the thoracic spine? So
absolutely.
This is good for me.
So purposefully with you, we're going to keep your elbow position quite short, rather than the arm position quite long. Okay. So if you pop your head onto the foam roller, what we're looking at here is setting up the knees angles at 90 degrees. So the ankles 90 degrees, the knees 90 degrees, and the hips at 90. Just sit back into your hips a touch more there, Andy. That's
Don't
good.
go to sleep. Look like you might
your
go to
right
sleep.
hand, your right hand behind your head, and link that in and keep that quite tight. And we're going to start from this fully rotated position there. Okay, take a deep breath in, and then breathe out and rotate. And we're trying to focus all of this rotation into the thoracic spine rather than, in your case, overstressing the shoulder, because you're going to move more through your shoulder because of the stiffness in the thoracic spine. So we're trying to isolate the flexibility to the mid-spine.
Nice.
It's a tough stretch, that one, actually.
And again, same breathing pattern, breathing out as we move out, breathing in on the way in.
Really important on these as well that the legs stay in position, Andy.
Absolutely, locks the pelvis, and it's also really important that we breathe. We want to see a relaxation through the abdominal wall to allow you to move maximally through the thoracic spine. Well done. 2 sets of 10 to 20 of those in terms of repetitions.
On both sides, obviously. Yeah.
On both sides.
Now, Andy, he's been lying down a lot. Surely he's not going to be lying down again, is he?
We're going to give him another rest, unfortunately.
Another rest?
We're going to continue to work on hip mobility here. So this is commonly known as a window washer exercise.
Okay.
Basically, it's an exercise where we simultaneously rotate one hip in whilst the other hip comes out. But there's some important points to this exercise that are often missed. Okay. So if you lay yourself onto your back, a couple of towels there to support the head and neck position. and he's going to pop his hands around his hips, and that's our feedback mechanism, because what we don't want to see here is the hip and pelvis lifting and extending. That creates quite a lot of extension based movement through the hip and pelvis, and also it loses some of the mobility stretch that we want to see through the hips. Okay, so again, Andy's going to breathe through this in the same pattern as previous, so a big deep breath in before we start. He's going to internally rotate his right hip and externally rotate his left hip. He only comes as far as he can keep that hip and pelvis down against the floor, and this is where his hands are providing that monitor.
So as you said, people will almost try and turn the hips as opposed to just almost let the legs drop almost.
Yeah, the cheat is really, if you lift the pelvis up from the ground, we lose some of the flexibility that's driven into the hips by keeping it in a nice stable position. Okay. We do this to both sides. And with Andy here, we see that he's got limitation internally through his left hip, which we picked up on other testing previously, and vice versa on his trail side. Well done, Andy. Good. Nice.
Breathing, as you can see, as you can hear, sorry, very important as well that you do this properly.
Absolutely, to get that good, efficient quality of movement.
Yeah. So in and then out as you do the movement.
Yep. Breathing in on the way in and breathing out on the way out. Well done, Andy. Good work.
So we're on to the fifth and final exercise of stage 1. Andy, what is it? Is it an easy one to finish off, please?
No, we're ramping things up again.
Oh, great.
So this is a half kneeling ankle flexibility exercise, the dorsiflexion exercise that we looked at in the testing. Okay, so if you get into a half kneeling position, probably important to have something soft here to kneel on, like a pillow or a rolled up towel.
Poorly knee.
If you pop both hands onto the upper part of your knee and then create some downward pressure through there actually. We are getting a hip extension stretch in the trail leg, but that's not the focus of this exercise. It's something we're getting for free almost really. We're going to lunge over the top of the ankle on the front side, creating downward pressure through the knee, and more importantly, keeping that heel flat to the ground. The cheat here would be that we'd see that heel lifting from the ground. So keep that sat down, and we only go as far forward as we can keep that heel flat to the ground.
And we've done this, high posture. And we've done this with people as well, and we've seen them do this exercise, and we've actually said to them, you've got to keep your heel on the ground. And they're like, yeah, no problem, I am. And then the heel is up. Yeah. So, just make sure you do it properly.
As we found with the hip mobility exercise, it's really important that we isolate the stretch to the key area that we're working on. And obviously, if the heel's lifting from the ground, that's the body's way of cheating out of that lack of flexibility.
And how long am I holding the stretch for, Andy?
At the end of range, around about 3 to 5 seconds, and again, 2 sets of 10 to 20 reps on each side. Well done. Good technique.
Well, I actually really enjoyed that, especially that foam roller work there. Andy C, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Andy. I think I'm feeling mobile already.
My pleasure.
As you can see, guys, how easy was that? Very simple, and you can do that with minimal equipment and 15 minutes each day. So the more you do it, the more benefit you get, and we are confident that if you just have a go at that, you will see some improvements.
Absolutely. Now, that was just stage 1, breaking the ice. Head on over to MeAndMyGolf.com to see the rest of the plan, where we continue to work at these exercises, the progressions that you need to make you more consistent, give you more club head speed, and reduce that risk of injury. And guess what? All in just 15 minutes a day.
So if you're serious about improving your golf and you want to take part in that plan, then all you need to do is head over to MeAndMyGolf.com by clicking the link in the corner, and we look forward to seeing you over there.